Welcome to the show with no name for the 1st of November 2013. We're here on the side porch of Casa Bob. I really thought that today we'd be shivering indoors someplace, but boy,
shivering outdoors
we certainly got what? You shivering? I'm not shivering. I'm sweating. Of course, I've been running around getting our orange juice.
Still that
no coffee today.
Boston Red Sox euphoria. That's what's keeping you warm.
Well, I'll tell you. I got to tell you. It's slowing down a bit, but I was just in a chipper mood all day yesterday. It's amazing how that works like that. You know, it's just it was great. I'm celebrating with a mock mimosa, no coffee here today, so I'm putting tonic water instead of into the orange juice instead of champagne, which of course we drank the other night.
Yeah, look like the Red Sox.
Wow! Did I say this is the show with no name?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Look like the Red Sox wasted a lot of champagne. They were squirting all over.
I know it. You know, my brother was at the which game? The one where they cinched the ALCS, I think. I'm losing track now because they've been drinking champagne. No. It was when they won the Eastern title. Which was a Friday night, seems like 100 years ago. You know, this is why baseball is the best sport, because there are so many hurdles that have to be mounted before you get to be the last guy standing. You're playing 162 games. Every game counts, right? You're playing. It's not the team with the most talent. It's the team that manages to make through with when they're hurt, when they're depressed, whatever. You know, that you just have to struggle through and pull what's left out of you, because my God, the pressure they've been under for the last few weeks is just tremendous. And I'm talking about all of them, not just the great, terrific winning team, one of the best teams of all time. But seriously, I mean, wow. You know, not only did they, you know, keep up the pressure to win their division, which is really, this is the first time they've won the division and the World Series in a long time, ever, really, because you don't count the years before we had all these extra playoffs, because I think every other time, the last two times they were wild card teams, weren't they?
Yeah, wild card.
Maybe not. Maybe not the last time. I'm not
pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Pretty sure.
Because the Yankees usually win, and then Tampa Bay won one year. Couple years. Oh, here comes the cold wind now. Okay, now we put the jackets back on. Well, okay, we'll take it as it is. We move the couch in a little closer, away from the spray. Doesn't bother me because I'm further in than these guys are. But what the heck, you're my guest.
Thank you.
But yeah, what a and then they were playing even on the last weekend for home field advantage. Over Oakland, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, so it's almost hard to remember who was in this. Yeah, Oakland had the best record. They ended up with. The Sox ended up with like one game better, or maybe one game or 2 games better. I forget, but it was up to the last weekend. So even those games were counting as being something.
And how many ways did the last run score?
Oh,
in the series?
My God!
How many ways did it end that you've never seen?
Never seen before. Right. And not just the World Series. I mean, we already forget about the drama of the week before when that Detroit team was actually every series the Sox played here was against a real good team. I mean, this year the really best teams really did make it into the playoffs. Even the wild cards were all solid teams. Outstanding.
But definitely the American League was a better league this year. When you look at everything.
Yeah, I'd say that, but I'd also say that the St. Louis Cardinals were worthy of playing any team in the American League, as were the Dodgers, and frankly, as were the Braves. But
I think the American League had, and that's what makes them tougher in the World Series too, because it's such a dogfight to get in. I mean, to win your division, particularly coming out of the East.
yeah,
They've got, top 4 teams there are all tough. Yeah.
right.
And
As a matter of fact, it works to their disadvantage because they're playing each other so much that they even out, and as a result, the wild card may go to say Cleveland.
Yeah.
Who were a good team, a solid team. Actually, they finished up in terrific form.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. They weren't all that great all season, but they've been at the end. They were almost unstoppable.
They hung in.
And who remembers them? They've been eliminated for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
Who remembers Cleveland?
Or Pittsburgh.
Or Pittsburgh. Yeah, it was just a great end of the season for baseball all the way around, and it doesn't get any better for me. It's not just because they've always been my team, even through the long years of purgatory. It wasn't even necessarily as far as high up as purgatory.
It might have been hell in a few years.
But once that Boston Marathon thing happened, which was on Patriot, right after the Patriots Day game at Fenway Park, the team was getting ready to go on the bus to go to Cleveland. And when that happened, they were actually, just exiting the locker room when they found out about this. That brought the whole town together, brought the team together, and it gave them something to win for, aside from their own pride, which was pretty good either. But I have never seen a team be so much a team as those guys. They absolutely love each other. They couldn't get enough of each other. When they're hugging each other, they're hugging each other. It was just great to watch. I got to admit, there were some of those games I'd have to leave the room. There was the tension. I'd leave Mary. When I hear Mary whoop, I'd go in and check the instant replay.
But the last game, a lot of tension I saw was gone in the 5th inning. Once they got that lead, it just
right, and then it was just a party.
Let's just get this over with.
Yeah, and then it was and then it was punctuated by what turned out to be that meaningless rundown of Jacoby Ellsbury, but it just put the icing on the cake, didn't it? I mean, he was nailed.
How many times you get safe on a rundown?
Not
very often.
No, not very often. And he was safe by a mile.
I saw that.
They screwed it up pretty bad.
That's one of those things they teach you in Little League, how to go back and forth. And the catcher was just getting into position a little too late. I think he realized that I've lost track. They were moving position so much. I'm not sure who it was that was too far forward that allowed Ellsbury to run right by him. But was it the pitcher? Yeah, he was in the wrong spot. So the catcher was moving in to back him up, but it was too late. Yeah. Wow. And of course, you got the fans who are hanging on every pitch to begin with, and it's hard to overcome that.
So you didn't come up with $12,000 to get a seat, did you?
Well,
that's what I heard that tickets were going for.
Yeah, Elaine told me. She says, "Did I hear that right?" Because I didn't hear it. She said, "Did I hear that right? $12,000 for a ticket?"
Standing room was going for $1,000.
I said, it's a series and it's Boston. I said, yeah, that could be true.
And this is one of those. I don't think Sean got tickets for any of the series games, and he's well connected, and he didn't get them. The other thing was what's his name, Glenn Drinkwater, the guy who looks like Robert Redford, sits behind home plate every game. He's usually pretty emotionless. He'll sit there with his arms crossed, carefully observing the game, but you rarely see him reacting. He was jumping up. He was pumping his fist. He was. I didn't see Headphones Guy, what he was doing, but he's a little more demonstrative. It's amazing how you feel like you know these people. You see
them
because they're
every week.
behind home plate, you see them
Yeah.
every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I was at the park, I went down to see if I could get to talk to either one of them. They were both there. It was funny. In between innings, they were talking with each other. Now, when you're watching the game, you think they don't even know who each other are, but they're the two most recognizable fans in baseball. Lord knows what Headphones Guy is listening to. Supposedly the game, but it could be anything.
See, they interviewed that old guy that
Yeah.
90 something.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
88.
Never-
88.
never missed a game.
Hasn't missed a game in 70 years or something,
Yeah,
or 65 years. Yeah. Well, of course, you saw the picture I posted of my great aunt, who is now lived through two
home
Fenway
field
Fenway
clinches.
Park home clinches of the World Series. And actually, my caption was mistaken because I didn't realize that the 1918 series was played early because of the war.
Right.
So I think the final game was like September 18th. So she was less than 4 months old when the last time they won at home, the World Series. Pretty sure my mother was at the 46 series. Believe it or not, you could get tickets for that up to the last minute.
A lot of the series back then, you can see that there were empty seats. You know, even here, well, last
As
game of
recently
the
as Oakland. Remember when Oakland had the great team and they couldn't fill the stadium for the World Series? And then, what's his name? Charlie Findlay sold everybody the next year. Screw
Yeah.
Oakland, you know?
Yeah. No.
That was disgraceful. Tampa Bay wasn't even filling the stadium for the playoffs.
No. No, and
Florida should not be allowed to have teams.
they just need more ramps for walkers.
They never half fill up a stadium.
And the Marlins are worse. The Marlins were going to the World Series, and their stadiums are empty.
Yeah.
God, I remember watching a Mets game, and there were like 1,200 people in the stands in a stadium that seats like 50,000.
Yeah, and then they had the fire sale and get rid of all the players, and no, the same. That's why Washington went from Montreal to Washington. Montreal couldn't fill the.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Toronto's the same way. They don't. Although, in fairness to Toronto, 30,000 people looks like it's empty in that stadium.
Yeah, it was a big stadium.
But of course, I got that. I think I put it in my book about when the Yankees came to Amsterdam in '42.
Yeah.
There were 4,000 something fans here. 2 weeks earlier, the Yankees were playing the St. Louis Browns at Yankee Stadium and had 2,000 something. So we had twice as many in Amsterdam as they had in Yankee Stadium 2 weeks earlier.
This area was a big baseball town. Gloversville and Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Big baseball town.
Apparently still are, because the Mohawks pack them in. Anyway, enough of baseball. We're going to the parade.
You're going to the parade.
As soon as the show's over today. This may not get up till Sunday night.
Right.
But
What time's the parade start tomorrow?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Not sure how we're going to get into town. Not sure what we did the last time, tell you the truth. I've forgotten. Last time we went the night before and spent the night on the street.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
You said that.
And it was a little light rain too, about 4 in the morning, or 6 in the morning, or something like that. It was fun. That was fun, but it was cold. We brought sleeping bags, and tarps, and made sure we were in the front line on Boylston. We actually made it into the Nesson footage.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. Even though the cameras were mostly focused on the other side of the street, but we had this big Go Red Sox banner that Steve Porcello made for us, and so we hung that on the barriers, the street barriers, and so the camera swung around and caught us as it was going by. Did not make it, however, into fever pitch, because that ends with the parade, with the real footage from the parade, and unfortunately we were not in any of that. But maybe this time.
But you were there. That's the important.
We were there, and that's what it was. Well, parade will only, the whole thing goes by in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And so we're there for like 12 hours on the street for 10 minutes of a parade. But it was great. We were there. We got our pictures. Took our pictures there.
City only tipped over one car the other night in celebration.
Yes. Sean was happy to report that. Yeah. Only one car, and there were only 9 arrests, which is pretty incredible.
That's not bad at all. That's like nothing.
Yeah.
Those, I assume, were the guys wearing the Yankee hats. What a pitching staff those Cardinals have, huh?
They were.
And it still wasn't enough.
No, Boston put their bats to sleep. St. Louis really didn't have it.
For 2 or 3 years, Lackey was the GOAT of the team. They were so pissed off that we paid all that money for him. He wasn't doing anything. Boy, did he prove his worth this year.
Came around, him and Lester.
Yeah.
They did all right.
Somebody was saying last night that Lester had a great start and a great finish, but in the middle he was really struggling, and it didn't look like he was going to be able to come back, even though he kept pitching. And then he finished up terrific. But Lackey was steady the whole season long, just great. And Buchholz, who obviously got injured halfway through and barely made it back for the end of the season, and struggled through the playoffs, gave it everything he had. His fastball was only going 88, and he was still finessing outs. So, he did his part for the team. I said enough of baseball about 5 minutes ago.
I know. I was going to say.
It was so exciting. And Ortiz.
I doubted. I didn't know whether I was going to come today, just because it's going to be all baseball and.
No, we're going to get off of that.
I don't know the statistics of baseball. I like to watch it, but I'm going to be outmaneuvered here.
There you go.
I don't always suck down hot sauce while watching World Series games. Well, when I do, it's Big Papi en Fuego hot sauce. Stay hot, my friends. Okay.
That was good.
Yeah, it was better than I did it the other night. I was too nervous doing it. Now I'm loose. Now that they won I filmed it between I filmed it before the top of the 9th inning, because I already had the camera hooked up because I wanted to record the end of the game. And so I just, since the camera was rolling anyway, I just did that. But I was too nervous because the game wasn't over yet. They were up by 5 runs, but with lights out Koji coming. The guy's 38 years old.
Well, look at him and Poppy are 75 years old between two of them.
Yeah. 76. I mean, they're both born the same year. They're both born in 75, I guess.
He's quite a player, Poppy.
Oh my God. Did you ever see more confidence? I mean,
no, when he got up there, they knew what was happening. They knew it was going to be gone, or they're going to walk him.
Took him long enough to catch on to that, didn't it? And it was funny. He's up in one of the later innings, and it looks like finally they're going to have to pitch to him because there's a guy on first, and so they had to pitch to him. And then the pitcher gets his cleat caught in the rubber, blocks, and all of a sudden first base is open. Oh my! Another one of those things you hardly ever see. The balks alone are rare enough, but an accidental balk is. Do you understand the balk rule?
Well, once the runner on, basically it applies to runners on first and third. Because you can do a lot when the guys on second, they never call. The guys on first, you can't do anything that they say is perceivable as trying to fool the runner. Okay?
So if the runner fools you.
Well, you have to take your sign and come to a stop someplace before
that's part of it.
You can't do a rolling motion.
Right, it's got to be a full stop before the pitch.
Full stop.
And
you can't You can turn your head, but you can't turn your shoulder because that's perceived as trying to fool the runner. When the guy's on second, the rules are the same, but they're not the same. There's more leniency there when it's on second. But on third base, the same.
Well, you have to turn your shoulder or you can't see the guy behind you.
Yeah.
You know, you turn your head the other way.
Yeah.
Turn your head the other way. You know, and you know, it's funny because you look at the old footage of ball games. Most pitchers with a runner on third took the full windup.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. They'd look over and start their windup. You know, now nobody does that. You know, they
Not
don't.
since Ellsbury stole home
Yeah,
last night.
they don't do that anymore. They're always from the stretch.
In my World War II research, I came across a Johnny Page column from the middle of the war. He was the sports editor of the Recorder, explaining the, I think it was 11, the 11 rules of the balk. I mean, holy God.
See,
And you know, 11 different combinations
things you can do wrong.
that can become a block.
What's the infield fly rule?
you have to have a double force with less than 2 outs. You have to have a runner in first and second, or first, second, and third with less than 2 outs. And if a ball is hit in the air, that can be fielded easily by an infielder. The infield fly rule is called, which means the batter is automatically out. That was put into place because in the old days, that would happen. The runners would have to stay close to the base because it's going to be caught, and the guys wouldn't catch it, and they get a double play.
Yeah.
So they
achieve double
take
play.
it. You know, so you can't do that. A line drive is not an infield fly. The infield fly now is so liberally interpreted that an infielder can go back 25 feet
Sure,
into
well,
the outfield
but that's reasonable.
to do that. But it has to be first and second, or bases loaded. It has to have a double force. If it's just a runner on first, it's not a double force.
When the ball dropped between the two players the other day, was anybody on base? I didn't
Yes.
know this. Was
There's
there?
a runner on first.
So the
I think it was running first. So I mean, he had he was off the bag a little way. No, there wasn't. There was nobody on base. That was the first batter. That's what started it.
yeah, because they didn't. I see they didn't rush for the ball and throw it anywhere. So
Yeah, 'cause the guy was already on first
Yeah.
by the time it came down.
Now, the second part of the rule is, and this is the part I want you to explain to me because I've never understood this, is that the runner on base can run at his option. He has the option of running when the infield fly rule is called.
He can, but
Now my question then is he able to run as soon as the out is called? Does he have to tag up at that point?
if the ball is caught, he has to tag up because otherwise he's let off before the ball is caught. So if the guy
but
takes
wait a
off,
minute, time out.
The
He's already out.
The batter's out.
Yeah.
The batter's out. There's nothing to do with the runner. If they call infield fly, batter's out, the runners have to go back and tag, or if they leave before the ball is caught, they can get doubled off.
They can.
They can, absolutely.
Okay.
They can.
All right, that's
Absolutely
it.
can. You can't. It doesn't give them free reign to run the bases if the
still
guy
got-
catches the ball. If they let it drop, certainly they didn't have to wait.
Right.
But if the ball is caught, you.
But they're not going to let it drop
They're not.
because the infield fly rule is in effect. So there's no point in letting it drop.
That's right, because it's only that you're only getting that one out. It's not an automatic double play, but the runner can leave that his own. That's why I say his own risk, which means he's taking a chance that they're not.
Right.
gonna
So at
catch
that
it.
point, there's no force. Right. It takes the force out. There is no force at second or third
there's no force.
Yeah.
Correct.
or home.
So they have to.
Well, I
have to
remember Tommy Tresh taken home on an infield fly. He was on third base, called the infield fly rule,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden Tresh is flying to home plate.
Because they must have decided not to catch the ball. Or
No, they did catch the. I
he
think,
had to tag up.
so he must have tagged up, yeah.
It,
And it has been unclear to me since 1961.
now, you're
First time I've ever had a chance to ask anybody.
talking about the pitching from the stretch. There used to be 2 rules. The American League and the National League were different. In the American League, you had to take the sign with your foot on the rubber. In the National League, you could take the sign from the catcher with your foot off the rubber. and then go into the stretch.
Well, what difference does that make?
I have no idea, but that's what the rule was. And actually, could take you can see them. They would take first of all, because then you can do anything you want thrown to a base if your foot's not in the rubber.
On or off?
If it's off, you can do anything you want thrown.
Okay.
Okay. So the guy who's the National League, the guy's taking the sign off the rubber.
Yeah.
He can be doing this to the guy at first base.
No balk because his foot's not on the rubber.
Once your foot's on the rubber, then you have to abide by the rule. You can't fake.
Yeah.
But the American League always had to take the sign with their. But now it's both leagues have the same rule.
Which is what?
You have to have your foot on the rubber when you take the sign. Because you watch.
What if you're taking the sign from the dugout?
Yeah, I was going to say. So you're not taking the sign from the catcher.
It's okay. You just stand there and take it, and then you get on, and there's not a noticeable difference, except that the runners are in a different peril if you're standing on the rubber. You're standing on the mound without your foot being on the rubber.
Okay, so you haven't put your foot back on the rubber yet,
right.
and you're wandering around. You're wandering around the pitcher's mound or whatever, wandering around the infield. You're the pitcher. Can you pick the guy off at first base at that point?
Certainly, just like an infielder.
All right, so there's no timeout at that point.
No, there's not. No.
See, I thought timeout extended till the pitcher put his foot on the rubber.
Only on a foul ball.
Is that right?
Yeah. So everybody has on a foul ball. Everybody has to go back, retouch the base, and time is out until the pitcher gets on the rubber.
Okay, which is my next question about tagging up. That only happens when there's a foul ball?
They have to go back and touch the base.
You got to tag up.
Yes.
Okay.
The ball does it if there's no foul.
If it's just a straight swing and strike, you don't have to go back and tag up.
No.
Most of these guys do, though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But after a foul ball, you have to go retouch because you're starting things fresh.
Right. Otherwise, the ball is live the whole time.
The ball is live. Yeah.
The ball is alive the minute the catcher or the pitcher gets the ball, isn't it?
Yep. Once he gets the ball on a normal play, but on a foul ball, it doesn't become live until he gets his foot on the rubber.
Yeah.
And then you can do anything you want. But until then, the ball is everything is considered dead. But that.
I got another exception. The umpire's changing the ball.
Umpire's changing the ball. Ball's dead.
So the ball's dead until what? Until the pitcher has it.
Until the pitcher has it. And under normal circumstance, the ball gets in the dirt. Sometimes they'll change the ball, but normally they only change it after a foul ball. But it's funny. You watch the games now, and they're just changing the ball out left and right. Back, when Gibson pitched and Whitey Ford and
same ball.
Lombard, the pitcher wanted it.
We'll give you the game ball at the end of the season when we're done with it.
Yeah. And I think that the rule now is they have to have 12 dozen balls available for every game.
Yeah.
To have 140.
Yeah, and the umpire team rubs them with their pumice or whatever it is.
They rub it with Chesapeake mud.
Yeah.
It's a special mud that they collect someplace. They don't tell you where in the Chesapeake. And before the game, that's what they rub it up to get the sheen off the ball. So even a brand new unused ball, a game ball,
has already been rubbed up.
Rubbed up in a little off color.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't see that crystal white ball that you do when you take out a package at the store.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Jim.
That's it.
What do you have to say about baseball?
That's it. I said it.
We'll see you till truck day. Big Papi Un Fuego Monster Double hot sauce. It's quite good, actually.
Is it hot or is
No,
it
it's
just
hot.
spicy?
No, it's hot.
How many Scoville?
It's got 3 flames there, I think. It's
Grand Slam.
yeah, it's pretty hot. It's medium hot by their hot standards. Yeah. I forget where we picked that up. I thought we had a bottle of Big Papi Merlot or whatever it is that we've had since 2004, I think. We've also got the Captain's Cabernet with Veritex picture on it. It turns out my son had the Big Papi bottle, and Anna will not let us open the Veritech bottle. She just loves number 33. Big Papi's Laura's favorite player.
Yeah.
All right, I've got some hot sauce that we use hot sauce a lot, and I've got some that I can use a toothpick to get some.
Oh yeah. Can't
put
take
it
any.
in the soup.
Right, and that's it. Yeah.
The soup is hot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've had that. There used to be a hot sauce store in one of the malls, Crossgates, I think, and they would only serve it to you on the tip of a toothpick to test it.
I used to go to Saratoga to get the hot sauce up there, hot sauce store up there, all kinds.
Uh-huh.
They probably had 200, 300, 400 different hot sauces.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
What's wrong? En fuego? What?
It's made in New York. That's wrong. That's like an American flag being made in China, you know?
New York City.
Yeah.
You get your chili from New York City. Okay.
All right, so what do we got?
All right.
I had a bunch of people ask me about the budget and the city finances. I said, nobody knows what's going on there. Nobody knows. I said, they've commingled so much money there, nobody knows where it is.
Well, I see the acting controller finally filed last year's AUD, and I'm wondering what the heck figures he used. And I noticed that they didn't turn a copy of it over to the recorder, which seems to me kind of basic. I mean, if he filed it, we should see it, right? At least I don't think he turned it over. Otherwise, I would think they would mention what it says, like what our fund balance was. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't know what the fund balance is, how can they file an update?
I suspect our fund balance is negative once you take out the phony figures on how much taxes are due. I mean, that was one of the things that report was so subtle in the way it was written, even though it's saying things we can't make heads or tails out of this, but due to the poor record keeping. Yeah. But they just kind of slip these things in that if you know what they're saying, it's absolutely frightening.
How can they ever figure out what happened?
I think you got to go back.
Even if they go back that far,
I don't know.
They don't have the records back then.
They don't have the records coming through either.
Yeah, so how can they ever figure out what's...
Or as someone told us the other day, there's 4 sets of books. And there was an oblique reference to that in the audit when it mentioned that you have the stuff that's kept in the records, and then you have this separate spreadsheet which says something different, and then you have the receipts, the receipts and the receipts deposited, which don't reconcile. And then somebody was telling us, or maybe wasn't telling you guys, but it told me anyway, that the engineer's office keeps very good records of their capital projects and what they spend on them, and those figures don't agree with anything in the controller's office, that they actually spent a lot more than is showing up in the controller's records.
Now, I know in years gone by, there's been businesses controlled by the mob that had 2 sets of books. All right?
Right.
So, I mean, why do we need more than 1 set of books?
Well, because they got 3 mobs there, and they each got a set.
It just doesn't make sense.
4 mobs. Yeah.
You know, why you would need more than... I mean, you could have a handwritten one in a computer, but they still should say the same thing.
Again, I think it's one of these reading through the line things that was accidentally revealed by the mayor when her comments to the auditors were, basically, it doesn't make any difference. We needed to spend this money to do all the things we needed to do.
Exactly.
And that tells you everything you need to know about why the books are in crummy shape, because the mayor is spending money she knows she's not allowed to spend because she thinks it needs to be spent.
And that's where she had the problem with Ron Wisbicki.
Right.
Because he wouldn't allow that.
Right.
It's not in this line item, you don't spend it from someplace else.
That's what he was saying, and she fought him tooth and nail, and she drove him to his grave.
Incredible. I don't even know where to begin on that. I can't see anything other than the state coming in and taking over at some point.
I know that's my thought. That's my thought. If these auditors that they hired, how are they going to straighten this out? How much time? They only got so much time to do it. I guess they gave them what they give them 2 months,
60 days or 90 days.
Well,
I forgot. They didn't give them forever. We'll put it that way. They've got a time limit and they got a money limit, and I don't think they can do it with the limits they've got.
I'm still trying to figure out how how we did it in the Emanuel administration, because things were not great, and we had to submit those the 5-year plans. How are we going to get out of this financial mess? But the fact of the matter is, if you look at the figures,
but we used to get reports occasionally.
We did not raise the taxes. I say we, like I had anything to do with it, but we did not raise the taxes.
I thought we lowered it 50 cents.
There were a couple of times they went down. Yeah, I think there were less at the end than they were at the beginning, and they didn't fluctuate much in between. And yet still managed to increase the fund balance dramatically to the point where Joe left office with $3.3 million in fund balance that was promptly dissipated. I don't know. Part of it was we eliminated positions, which she then put back.
When I asked somebody at City Hall what happened to that fund balance or the dedicated funds that we had, and see what those weren't real. I said, what do you mean they weren't? They weren't passed by resolution, so they didn't mean anything. As we put money in separate funds, and it wasn't done by resolution, so they didn't have to abide by it. I said, oh God, that's why we're in problem. We're in the deal we're in now. It's just phenomenal that she could get away with it.
But
if no one audits you, you're going to get away with it.
But when you hear, or actually what you read that she says, you can just take her name and supplant it with Obama.
Right.
It's the same
Right.
explanation.
Right.
Yeah,
just lie your way out of it.
Yeah, just there's no difference.
There really isn't.
The words are the same. There must be like a democratic dictionary of words to use, so it doesn't sound really bad and it makes you look really good.
And we wouldn't have this problem if it wasn't for the greedy insurance companies, right?
Yeah.
So you weren't lying then, Mr. President? Absolutely not.
No, I said you could keep
you
it.
can keep it. If you like your plan, you can keep it as long as I like it too.
Right. As long as it's from a corporation.
That's party left out. But
and of course, I don't have to take that plan anyhow because I'm the president. I can get my own.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the local issues again. We did not have the opportunity on Tuesday on the radio show to discuss the anonymous Diane postcard.
Yeah.
The one from New York City?
Yeah, the one from New York City, where they make Big
1-7.
Papi en Fuego hot sauce. That's Spanish for on fire, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, because I had not seen it at that point. I had before the show, I had put out a missive to one of my friends who I knew had a copy, and I said, "Send me a PDF," and he sent me a JPEG, which worked just the same. Well, when I asked for it, I didn't realize I was one of the stars of this.
Really?
Oh yeah. Apparently one of the second column. One of Diane's most grievous sins is that she takes biased advice from me, naming me specifically, who was accused of giving biased advice all through the Emanuel administration. Was accused by whom? By you. Yeah, the author. Yeah. Man.
How lengthy of a diatribe was it?
Well, it's a good-sized postcard in 2 columns, but I mean, most of the stuff was stupid, and I can see why Diane's called it female cattiness, because it does sound exactly like Mayor Thane's talking points about Diane. I mean, exactly. But we know who wrote it. But nevertheless, it was, and for her to deny, of course, she gave her heartfelt denial. She didn't condemn it. I noticed, but she denied that she had anything to do with it. I pride myself with being. It was. I forget how she praised herself, but it was that she would never do anything like that.
But you didn't say it was wrong.
But now she says never would she do anything like that. However, in the last mayoral election, right? Do you remember that there was a joeemanuel.com website that was put up by one of her supporters that did nothing but basically say all the same stuff that was in this thing about Diane, in the same same kind of language too. Well, I mean, I know who put that website up, and I watched him having breakfast with Mayor Thane the day before it went up, okay? And the two of them were giggling together, and up to that point, I didn't even know they knew each other. And the two of them are giggling together and having a great time. And I mean, I was almost positive I knew who this was, although we had never met. And then in walks Carl Bea and his father and Barb Wheeler too. I think I think they were all come and having breakfast at the same place. And I said, Carl, take a look over at who the mayor's having breakfast with. Is that so and so? When he looks over, he says, yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, because he knew him. And so the next day, so simultaneously with the mayor, literally with the mayor's announced positive campaign, appears this vicious negative thing, and that she said, "Oh, I have nothing to do with this." Yeah, she is such a liar. I mean, but anyway,
I couldn't get on the radio the other day when she was on, because she said that she made the statement that she didn't know there was commingling of any money.
She didn't know that.
No, she says she didn't know. And I
didn't the corporation counsel who was doing the budget for her mention to her?
Yeah, I ran right to the telephone. I dialed the number, and I couldn't get through. Elaine says, "What are you doing?" I says, "I stood in front of the council and I said they were commingling money, and she said it was okay."
Yeah. Yes. You know she knows because you told her.
I told her.
Oh man. And
I mean, if you're the head of something and you don't know, you're either a liar or you're incompetent. If
Right.
you're a liar, you don't belong there, and you're an incompetent, you shouldn't be there either.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing down south.
yes.
Or here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I didn't know. What? You're in charge. Are your people that good about keeping you far enough removed
Yeah.
so you can have plausible deniability? And if they do, you still look like a fool because you should know that.
Well, she's constantly, and this goes for the other side, down below too, constantly pointing fingers,
She's had enough
putting the
fingers.
blame on people who work for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People who are her best friends.
She points in more directions than a compass.
Oh,
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it.
A brief diversion to the new recorder. Same staff, different management. It is so much fresher. That editorial on the 15-minute finance committee meeting. I mean, I have rarely laughed out loud at a local editorial. I'll tell you, but I was laughing out loud all the way through it because it was pointed, right on target, and it beautifully written.
It was.
Whoever did it, that was outstanding piece of satirical writing. It was.
They got it.
Got it just right. Got it just right. Yeah. People couldn't. The controller didn't bother to show up. The acting controller wasn't there.
He was busy. He was at a meeting.
Yeah, he was busy. Yeah.
The councilman didn't bother showing up.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay because they don't do.
Yeah.
They only do the mayor's bidding anyway.
Yes,
And so, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but what do you think What do you think was going on all weekend when the audit was first released to the public by the recorder? The phone calls going back and forth were, how did he get a copy? Who gave it to him? Who gave it to him? I demand to know who gave it to him. Because they were trying to hold it up till after the election. They didn't want they want everything look hunky dory, and then after the election they'll say that's old news.
Page 28 of the playbook.
Yeah. And of course, the state is always willing to go along with the local political officials. They play that game. But for the mayor to pretend that this is really nothing, that
just 3 days.
Dibus's analysis was absolutely correct that this is the worst I've ever seen.
But he wasn't.
Yes, I know. I'm not excusing him
But he
for
didn't
it
excuse
because
himself either.
He didn't. But he did go along with the DeCusatis budget.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, at least we got this straightened out. Yeah, baloney.
And the mayor
got it passed.
And the mayor said that because of him and DeCusatis, they had a budget.
Right.
The three of them sat down and went.
Yeah.
So he's just as bad. He's just as culpable as she is.
Yep.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's culpable.
Yeah.
Or in Spanish, culpable.
It's just.
Oh God,
I'm just loaded with Spanish today. Big papi un fuego.
If I worked for the city, I'd be down there as soon as I got my check cashing before they start bouncing, because at some point it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That.
And apparently it actually did happen at one point, and they had to draw out of other accounts they had. Yeah.
Other accounts that they had commingled.
Yeah, other accounts they had commingled. Yeah.
I was telling somebody, I says, but the city is broke. And they said, well, how can the city be broke if they're collecting taxes all the time?
They ain't collecting them.
I says,
because their expenditures exceed their receipts by a long shot.
I said, if you spend more than you've budgeted, that means you're broke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm glad I'm not there at this point.
Well, we'll see what happens Tuesday. Who's going to be there?
Here's the thing. They're handed a nightmare, especially when Wierzbicki drops dead. Okay, they're handed a nightmare. That was a year ago.
Yeah.
And what has happened since? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
Well, they had Daryl. They hired Daryl to do some work.
Right.
And right in the middle of it, they let him go because they said it
was costing too much.
Yeah, it was costing them too much. So now they had to hire two people.
Two people to do the same thing.
A firm and another person.
Right.
And they put a limit on them people. So how are you going to get an answer?
Now, some of this is not all that difficult. They're not going to want the answers. The difficult part is explaining away what has actually happened, because they're not going to be able to explain it away, because they have spent money that they were not supposed to spend on things for which were not authorized.
Exactly. Right.
For example, anytime you bond for a project, it can be, not any time, but under most circumstances, it's, depending on the amount and such, it's subject to a permissive referendum, which means that if a certain number of the public sign a petition to put it on the ballot, as a practical matter, that doesn't happen, but it's provided for under the law. So you pass a bond, for example, for the purpose of, fixing the Dove Creek.
Well, that'd be a good idea.
Okay?
That'd be a good idea.
So you do a you pass a bond so you have money for the flood control project on the Dove Creek, right? So now, within 90 days or something like that, the public has a right to petition. If they don't get the petitions in, then the bond goes through without putting it on the ballot. But when you later take that money from the Dove Creek project and spend it on something else, you have violated that law.
Exactly.
Never having given the public an opportunity to bring it on the ballot, which they might if it was for something other than the Dove Creek, like, say, docks on the Mohawk.
Oh,
And that's exactly what they did with the money from Dove Creek.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just saying theoretically, Jim.
Well, I'm
theoretically.
saying, I'm saying that's exactly what they did.
Now,
in fact.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that applies the same on a bond anticipation note as it does on a bond, but my point is the same, which is why it may or may not apply to that case, because I'm not sure whether it was a bond or a bond anticipation note. Not sure. Right? I think it means the same thing, but it may not. So now we know. I mean, what I'm saying is it's not that difficult to put it in order. We have all the resolutions. We have all the bond anticipation notes with all the paperwork from. We have bond counsel, right? We have bond counsel who every time we do one of these things floats a bond anticipation note. So the paperwork says exactly what it's for. So it's only a matter of gathering all these things, putting them in the spreadsheet, and now you know on this day we borrowed this amount of money, on this day we paid back so much principal and interest, blah blah blah. We haven't done that for several years, but that shouldn't be difficult to reconstruct. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't be anything that Roseanne can't do in the engineer's office that we don't have to hire somebody else from outside to do. Or, you would think anybody in the controller's office could do this. I don't know. I'm wondering what they do in the controller's office other than collect taxes.
What do they control?
But after Roseanne tells you, yeah, we only spent so much money on this project.
Yeah.
Where the hell's the rest of the money?
Yeah.
Where's the other $1 million?
Yeah.
Did it go into a special fund, or was it put on the side, or did you spend
general fund.
or general fund? And that's what they did.
Well, this is the
general
part. As I say, it should not be hard to reconstruct. It should be very difficult to explain, because what they've done, I am certain, is horrendously wrong.
Well, it's going to be difficult to specifically say what they spent the money on, because they put it in the general fund. So they spent it on a multitude of projects.
But that's all you need to know, is that it went into the general, that it was used.
But they have to.
I can't. Our cash balance, our cash account.
But the state says that they have to account for that money.
Absolutely.
They have to show where that money went.
All right.
And if they didn't, well, I don't know what the consequences are, but evidently we know that we're shit out of luck.
What is going to happen is, they've already said the city has violated the local finance law.
Yeah.
By the way they've conducted the operations.
Yeah. Every time
they will have violated it horrendously if that money isn't where it belongs. Okay. In other words, if what's unspent, if what's unspent on these bonded projects differs substantially from the amount that's actually in the bank account, then you know that they've spent money that wasn't theirs to spend.
So now who's responsible?
Which violates.
What's the consequence, though?
Yeah. Who's responsible, and what's the consequence?
They get told, don't do it again? Is that
That's what happens. That's what happens. Yeah. Up until now. I think at this point the state can't say that if it's this bad. I think they can't say. I think all they can do is wipe the slate clean and come in and take over. You no longer have a local government. And you know what? We don't deserve a local government. We don't. If we keep electing bozos who don't know what they're doing, then I have to say that we have forfeited our right to self-government in this city.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
what's going on here? Are we on or not?
I don't see the.
Okay.
Right. I see the flashing on the bottom. They.
Yeah. I got the red light, right? You guys keep talking.
I forgot what we were talking about.
What are they going to do? What's
Yeah,
the
what is the
What's
state
the
going to do?
consequences?
Are they gonna, do they have the Weatherall to come in and actually take over? Are
Yeah,
they, are they going to be
and that-
capable
and
of coming
that's-
in taking over?
Yes, they can.
Yeah, I think so.
But the problem is, then we're really in trouble because the taxes they can raise the taxes to make sure they got enough to run.
Yeah, but they can also they can also abrogate the. All right, we apologize for the interruption. Had a little power problem,
Technical difficulties.
which I don't understand. It seemed to be plugged in down there, but apparently wasn't. Which if I had my binoculars on, I could see from reading that screen. So you're right. Next time, we're getting the big monitor.
Get the monitor.
Yeah. Or a technical director. No, we it's just us guys.
What? He can run the board for another show. You have to run the.
Yeah, well, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you like
The
doing
other
that, running the board down at the radio station?
He asked me to do it for him. I said I have to do it. You know, it was no big deal.
A lot of people.
Michael
don't do
refused to learn it, you know. All those years we were on, he refused to learn how to use the board. I'm doing the election night coverage.
Yeah, I heard that.
From where?
That's
And,
great.
that. Down in the studio.
Huh?
We're going to run it out of the studio.
We're out of the studio, yeah.
You and Sean Piasecki.
Yes.
Is Sean doing
I
it?
think Sean is doing it.
Okay. Dan Weaver's doing it. I talked to him yesterday. He's so he'll be doing it with me. He'll be giving an interesting, different perspective on it. I really like working with Sean. I've done it a couple of times, and he's good.
He's sharp.
Yeah.
He's sharp. He can talk by himself for half an hour while we wait for the returns to come in and be interesting. You know. Yeah. And he knows his stuff. He knows the election districts and the personalities and such. So that's good. I think I first worked with him in 2003 in the Emmanuel Duchesne election.
Yes, I remember that.
Anyway, what time is it? Did you want to do a break?
It's 10 after. So, yeah. I
Should we
thought that
just
was
keep
a
going,
break.
or
Run out and do a little
yeah.
longer.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're tricking you again, folks, because a lot of you don't watch the second hour. It's so.
But if we keep it running together, they won't know when the
They
second
won't
hour
know.
is.
They won't know.
That's right.
Be just a long first hour.
Yeah. Which is what this will be. All right. Wow. Oh. All that excitement happened off camera. And the dog got tangled in the wires. And
So what's the big crucial race in the city, do you think? What's your...
Well, there's some interesting races in the city. I think the third ward alderman race is certainly very interesting,
Yes.
and could really be kind of crucial.
Yes.
Because let's face it, there's no leader on the Common Council today,
No, there isn't.
and I don't care whether you care what the policies are. Somebody should be leading. The mayor is not a leader. It's a vacuum there. There's no leader in the controller's office. There's no leader on the Common Council, and that's why they just keep. That's why they have 15-minute meetings and throw up their hands and say, "Well, we know we got a problem, but we don't know what to do."
It's difficult to have a leader when you have 4 know-nothing people.
Yeah.
They don't have a mind to listen to anybody. They just throw their hands up in the air and they well, I don't know what the word is. They just are so incompetent. It's difficult to have a leader. I really mean it. I don't like.
I'll tell you, Jim. I don't even care if we've got an incompetent leader, as long as somebody is saying, "Let's do this," and then we go ahead and do it. But all we've got is everybody saying,
everybody.
"We got to do something,"
Yeah, and they don't do anything.
and then don't do anything.
Or
I don't know what we're paying them for.
Or they'll say, "Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this." And somebody questions them and they say, "Well, let's not do it." let's do something else.
Hey, go lie down, Chip. We have Chip the Wonder Dog here, ready to get tangled in the wires again. All right, good dog. Good dog. Yeah. Get the camera. Okay.
Even
And part of that comes from the fact I don't think any of them respect anybody else. There's nobody down there that has the respect and that others believe actually know what needs to be done and how to go about doing it.
Well,
but getting it done is so difficult because the people don't know, the people that are there don't really know
What they're supposed to do.
what they're supposed to be doing
Right.
or how to do it.
and then the mayor just blames it, say, well, this didn't get done because you need to convince your alderman that we need to do it.
Yeah.
Really? What what's your job? What's your job? Why don't you learn how to persuade the alderman?
Yeah, why don't you compromise? Why don't you come up with a
Compromise, come up with a plan.
with an idea, with a
that's right.
yeah.
Well, the aldermen need to come up with a plan. No, you need to come up with a plan. We elected you the mayor.
No,
not-
they're
not-
legislators.
Jeepers. Oh, it's so
The
frustrating.
legislature passes legislation, and the mayor's supposed to carry it out, just
Yeah.
like in the federal government.
Somebody
Same deal.
bitched about Jerry DeCasatis the other day, an alderman. Wait a minute.
You guys left them there.
I said, you left him there. Well, the mayor kept appointing him. Oh, well, wait a minute. You didn't come
Whose
up with
legal
somebody.
advice are you taking on that? Well, Jerry's. Yeah.
You didn't come up with say this is
Alternative.
our new
Right.
corporation council. The mayor says she's going to appoint him, and you said okay. I says she did it 3 times.
Then you guys quit.
I
They didn't do it anymore.
They had the opportunity after 90 days to appoint their own corporation counsel.
Exactly.
And you know what? Let him take it to court if he thinks he's still a corporation counsel. That's all they had to do.
Yes.
And would they do that? No. They'd rather be able to say, well, it's not our fault.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And then they gave him a raise.
yeah.
Right.
They want to get rid of him. Then they give him
He's doing a terrible job. We want to get rid of him. Let's give him a big raise.
Give him 10 grand. Yeah. Wow. That's,
we're talking earlier before the interruption. How did we do it in the Emanuel administration? Well, take my office, okay? When I came in as assistant corporation counsel, Joe Woolman was a corporation counsel initially, and after about 8 months, I became the corporation counsel. All right. At that point, I eliminated the assistant corporation counsel position. I said, look, I can handle this, which was the assistant corporation counsel was doing all the appearances in city court on the code violation cases and nothing else, really, other than occasionally to fill in for the corporation counsel. So I eliminated that position. I eliminated the secretary's position and shared a pool secretary with the engineering department, okay, and did a lot of the typing myself. I would add. I eliminated. Well, actually, we did this beforehand. We eliminated the outside counsel that was handling all the employment issues. Okay. Meeting with the unions, negotiations, and all that stuff. We were paying $70,000 a year to outside counsel to do that. I did it as assistant corporation counsel as part of my other duties for, I think, 25 is what I was getting. All right. And then when I eliminated my own position, then I just took it over as a corporation counsel.
So you saved a little bit of money.
I saved $100,000 a year for 4 years in the tiniest department in City Hall. Okay, that's how you do it. You manage. You cut back things you don't absolutely need, and figure out a way to do it without.
when before Bob and Joe Woolman came in as corporation counsel. The other corporation counsel was there, and I was on the council. And there was a debate. We had a debate about something that needed to be done. The corporation counsel says that, he says, I won't do that unless I get paid extra. And this was at a council meeting. I said, well, isn't that your job? Well, yes, but I'm not gonna do it. I said, what's your so I stood up. I said, so you're telling me you're quitting the job right now, right? And the mayor's there. He goes, I said, you refuse to do it. You're quitting. You don't want to be corporate. Holy God! I both of them, the corporation counsel and the mayor, I felt were going to pass out because I challenged them there.
Well, previous corporation councils were getting something like close to an additional $100,000 a year for being involved in litigation involving the city.
The corporation.
I did that as part of my duties. You know what? I'll tell you.
The corporation counsel. Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Corporation counsel before that, if he wrote a letter to someone,
Charge.
yes, he charged them 15 minutes, a quarter of an hour, and he had a book. It was this thick, a quarter of an hour. I think it was a quarter of an hour. If he had to make a phone call.
See, my letters were only 2/10 of an hour, but I didn't charge for the city.
Oh no, he was charging extra.
I know, I understand.
Besides,
I get a salary for being me, and I get paid, and I have to get paid for everything that I do.
I'll tell you something John Kaczynski Jr. told me years ago, who was a great lawyer, and he was a social services attorney for years. And I think he was getting a grand total of $25,000 a year to be social services attorney. He said to me, he says, I never complain about the amount of money that they're paying me for this. And here's why. I start out by saying, if I had a private client who gave me a $25,000 a year retainer to do their work, how much work would I be doing for them? And I judge that accordingly. So it's not because this one gets this much more salary than I do. If this was my private client, if they gave me a $25,000 a year retainer, they'd be getting a lot of attention from me.
A lot of work. That's right.
Right. And that's absolutely right. So that's the way I looked at it too. And as I said, when I say I saved $100,000 a year, I'm not counting about all that stuff that I didn't charge to do the litigation.
Yeah.
That's part of your job. What else are you getting paid for? To show up at common council meetings, you get $60,000 a year.
$60,000 for it. You write a letter for the city, you get an extra.
I got 52 as. I started out at 52 as full-time corporation counsel.
But that's the difference between somebody who is a professional and somebody who's a laborer. Laborer gets paid for every hour that they work. Professional gets paid a salary, and you do everything you need to do to finish your job.
Right.
Above and it doesn't matter. It takes you 5 hours or 10 hours.
Right.
You got a salary. You do the job you need to.
Right.
You put the time in you need to do the job right.
Right. So I don't know what I don't know what Jerry's theory is on litigation. I haven't seen anything indicating he's doing anything to the contrary, but there's no doubt that City Hall is spending a lot more money than they used to. I mean, I certainly didn't have a Cheetos fund when I was there.
I think his wife is working at City Hall again.
Well, that's all right. She's my cousin. And a lovely lady.
That has nothing to do with it.
She's competent. She keeps things going.
Somebody has.
Oh my God, he wouldn't get anything done if his wife wasn't around. Jerry, do this. Jerry, do that.
He wouldn't be so heavy if she wasn't around.
Well, I don't know. I think he does most of the cooking in the house.
All right. Maybe,
although Mary's managed to maintain her girlish figure, so
yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. So I don't know. He must be eating for both of them. Oh, Jerry, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I can't say anything.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Whoa, look at that hawk coming. Wow. Had a whole mess of hawks a couple of days ago up in the trees and back. They like this hill.
There's a big one over there.
Yeah, that's the same one. He just no, there's a couple of them.
That's a different one.
Down lower.
Yeah.
That's a biggie.
Oh, wow. Anyway, so the city's doomed.
The city is doomed, is right.
Oh, we'll know Wednesday morning how doomed.
Yeah, one of the big contests is Stagliano and Austin for it.
I was reading the account of their
debate.
their so-called debate. Gee, I should have listened to that. I forgot it was going to be on the radio.
So did I.
Oh wait, it was on opposite the ball game though, wasn't it? Wasn't it
Yes,
Wednesday night?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
forget that then.
It was on early though, 6 to 7:15.
Was it?
Yeah.
But the recorder account was interesting because they said, basically Ossenfort was emphasizing his charm and charisma, and Stagliano was emphasizing his positions on his and the issues.
The Dan Weaver and Curtis said the same thing on the show yesterday. That Stagliano sat there with a dour face, and Matt Aggressive was upbeat, and Ossenfort was upbeat and bubbly and everything. He says so. They said it was a draw because Ossenfort won on charisma and bubbliness, and Stagliano won on substance.
Well, you know what? Give me the substance. I don't care. I don't care.
Well, that's it. But this is Amsterdam, don't forget. Substance doesn't mean too much to him.
I think Matt would make a fine candidate for the assembly, and I would certainly support him for that. And I think that's where his interest actually is in the legislature, having served as Amador's assistant.
I think this was going to be a stepping stone for him.
Well,
that's what he was hoping.
I hope when he loses on Tuesday that he gives serious thought to that, because I think he'd be a good candidate, and I think he'd probably be a good assemblyman. You don't need executive experience for that.
No.
And he's got none. He's got absolutely none. You don't ordinarily start off at the top, or you shouldn't. We've tried that in Washington, God knows. We've tried that in City Hall, God knows.
How's that served us?
I think the Democrats are running scared down in Washington, Gavin. I think they're starting to hear from their
I
constituents.
just hope they keep running.
I saw some of that in the paper the other day, that they're starting to question some.
All you got to do is run Nancy Pelosi saying we got to pass it so we can find out what's in it over and over and over and over and over again. I posted the other day on Facebook something I picked up somewhere else. 24 times Obama saying, "You like it? You can keep it. You like your plan? You can keep it. Absolutely keep it. Period."
I get that. That was.
If you like the plan you have, you can keep
It was on TV yesterday twice.
Yeah. It's and there are people who say, "Well, he never said that."
He flat out said that.
Oh my God! You must have misunderstood what he was saying.
That was one of the selling points.
That's right. And then he added period to the end of it. Period. There's nothing more to say. If you like it, you can keep it. And now he's saying, well, if you like it, you can keep it as long as I like it.
That's right.
Because that's because you had an inferior plan, and now we're going to get you a better plan.
There's people that have this what they consider an inferior plan, primarily because they only need it for certain things, and that's all we need it for. Where there's other people need to have a more elaborate plan because they've got greater health needs.
Right.
And as you age, you need to change what kind of plan that you have. But he's telling people you can't have it anymore. And some people are doubling the cost of it.
Doubling, tripling, 10,000 times.
With the cost of the plan plus the change in your copay.
And the deductibles. And the annual deductibles.
Those things are big deals.
You better believe they are.
Somebody who doesn't have to be part of it.
Especially when you're living marginally. When you're the people it's hurting are the people who work for a living.
All his talk about I'm going to help the middle class has done nothing to the middle class except bring them down.
That's right.
It's geared for another class that everybody above that class has to pay for.
Now, did you see Sebelius stuttering when the congressman says to her, "Can you explain to me why a single man needs pregnancy coverage in his insurance plan? Could you explain that to me?" Well, there are circumstances. What circumstances are those? Has a man ever been pregnant that you're aware of?
You know, and then they get blasted for being hard on her.
Yeah.
Hey, Saturday Night Live is not more funny than what she was. It was terrible. And the sidebar comments that she made were ridiculous. You know, and then at the end, you know, so she's been on 2 different days. First day, boom, 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 boom. The last time she says, all right, blame it on me, it's my fault. Well, yeah, but you know what? What's going to happen because of it? Nothing. They're still going to keep you. They're not going to fire you. You screw up that, well, just like in the city, you screw up that bad, nothing happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Screw up, and we still got you. Okay? You can't manage this. That's okay. We still got you. No, but I don't think has he fired anybody, any of his appointees?
He's been firing some military men.
The generals have been fired left and right
because they don't agree with his.
They stand up against him.
Yes, that's
those who take the sword for him. No problem. We're going to keep. Just say it's your fault. Just say it's your fault, Bob. No problem. Because nothing's going to happen. I'm sorry. Okay. Now what?
I don't know why, but it reminds me of something Billy Saul Estes once said. You may, those of you who are a little older may recall Billy Saul Estes, who was a friend of Lyndon Johnson, who went to jail for swindling millions of dollars from the government over some kind of fertilizer deal.
Silos.
Yeah, something like that.
Empty silos.
Jim's old enough to actually remember it. Gavin and I were early grade school when this happened. But Billy Saul Estes gave a great piece of economic philosophy. He says, you borrow $100 from the bank and they own you. You borrow $1 million from the bank and you got yourself a partner.
The bigger the screw up, the less ramifications there are.
That's the, I guess, the point that was coming to mind here. Yeah. Too big to fail.
Too big to fail.
Too big to fail.
Oh.
And so I don't know where we go from here.
You're going to Boston.
Yeah,
I'm going to Boston.
Mary came to the door once looking for you. She's ready to go.
She gives the 2-minute signal.
Is that what she is? Yeah. 2 minutes? I didn't see her.
Yeah.
She's anxious to get on the road. We're gonna.
She is.
We're gonna go stay with Louisa tonight. I guess.
That's worth it. Just going.
Where's Louisa?
Yeah. Hmm?
Where's Louisa?
She's in Waltham, which is just off of I-95 in the outer.
That's before Springfield.
No. It's on the. It's just this side of Boston. You go if you take I-90, if you take the turnpike toward Boston, where you hit 95, which is the ring around Boston, part of the ring around Boston, then that's where Waltham is.
You see, Massachusetts would start charging everybody for the full length of the turnpike now.
Yeah. From
you just get that free ride there.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I almost hit it the last time we went out because I thought they were changing it the weekend we went out and we're coming back, and that happened to me once before, where it's 220 one way and 330 the other way or something like that. But I think that went into effect October 1st.
Was that when it was?
Yeah. Yeah, so now I'm going to pay for the first 6 exits again, which is a shame.
Got to go down Route 5. Or 20. Route 20 goes all the way through.
Yeah, it does. We used to do that in the olden days before the turnpike. God, what a memory I have. We did that a couple of years ago. Not the whole way, but we got off on the Boston side of the Berkshires and took Route 20 through the Berkshires like we used to do when I was a kid before the turnpike was there. And there's a spot called Jacob's Ladder where there is a natural spring by the side of the road. And when we were kids, it fed into this big iron barrel, steel barrel, rusty steel barrel. And now it's more of a grotto. They've built a stone pond there where the water comes, and the water is fabulous. It's fabulous, and I found that there, and then I realized that it had been more than 50 years since the last time I had stopped it. And we used to stop there all the time going to Massachusetts and back.
There used to be one up in Tribes Hill.
Yeah,
We used to go with my
on
grandparents.
Mohawk
Yeah, we used to we'd
Drive.
take our glass jugs, my grandparents had, and go up there and we'd fill up with spring water.
Yeah. I think they condemned that and
Oh,
closed
I'm
it
sure, yeah, there
years
must be
ago.
something
Well, there was the
wrong
one
with
by
Well,
Pertel's house too on
Yeah, there must be
Bisbee.
something wrong.
Yeah.
Well, the farmer was fertilizing his field up there. And
Well, yes. I mean, it was. I mean, it's that spring was surrounded by cattle poop. Yeah. I can see why they.
there was one up on.
Drink too much, I get a moving experience.
There was one up in Perth there on Tenike.
The one in Hagen by Miss Hagen's house is still there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, on Chuckton Under Street. Yeah, that's good water. The best water is up above there on Fish House Road. What's the name of that? God, that huge artesian well. Wow.
I didn't know there was one up there at Fish House Road.
I think it's Fish House Road. I used to go up there with Michael all the time. And then I go up with these, I had these big 5-gallon jugs for my, and I'd fill those up there. Yeah. Oh, that water's great. Hagedorn Mills. Hagedorn Mills. Yeah. Yeah, that's right alongside the road. The road dips down and there's a bridge and a creek, but right, on our side of the bridge is the spring, and it just comes out of a concrete box, and it just flows fast and cold all year long, and it is absolutely delicious. Not at all like what you get out of the tap, or for that matter, what you can get in the supermarket. Poland Spring is good. I like the real spring water. Poland Spring is good. Vermont Spring is good. The purified water, forget it. It's like drinking distilled water from the chemistry lab.
I use spring water when I bake my bread.
Yeah? What do you do in the fall?
See, spring, fall.
Huh? Same old, same old.
On one of my Facebook posts yesterday, people were commenting on my beard, and I was saying, well, I see it as more of a King George V or Nicholas II, Tsar of all Russias, Ulysses S. Grant. And my kids see it as the homeless guy on the bench. Charlie Crable saw it as Saddam Hussein's
I saw
beard.
that.
So I got an email from my sister. She says, definitely of all the pictures you posted, you look more like the Tsar of all Russias. And then she says, should I worry about taking blood thinners? That's my sister. What a great, you got to know what she's talking about reference to the son of Nicholas II, who was a hemophiliac. I said, well, I said, you don't have to worry any more than the House of Windsor, who were second cousins to Nicholas and first cousins to Alexandra. So they've got the same bloodlines. They look so much alike, Nicholas and George.
Yeah, they did.
I always thought so, but when I showed the two pictures kind of next to each other, and they're even wearing the same kind of uniforms on top of that.
Yeah, people forget there was a pretty close connection between Russia and England.
And not only that, yeah. I mean, not only is Nicholas Romanov a second cousin to George V, and his wife is a first cousin, the mutual third cousin was Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany. So the Second World or the First World War was a family feud.
Yeah.
And what we now call the Windsors, which was really the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha at the time, after Albert, they spoke German. All those kids at home spoke German growing up. They were a Germanic dynasty. And Wilhelm always thought his natural alliance would be with England and not with anybody else. And of course that never worked out. He was a little insecure because of his arm. But he was the oldest, Kaiser Wilhelm was the oldest grandson of Queen Victoria, and she died in his arms
Really?
Yeah. The Queen of England, the Empress of India, died in the arms of the Emperor of Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm. And but for the fact that that he was descended through his mother, he would have been King of England.
Pretty tangled web over there, wasn't it, back then?
Huh?
They were all
Pretty
re-
tangled web they had.
A really
they were all
tangled web.
related.
Really tangled web. And you had the separate Protestant and Catholic bloodlines running through things. The Habsburgs and the Bourbons, and Austria and France and Spain, and the Hohenzollerns, and the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, and the Dukes of Orange, and all that.
You go back 400 years. All the families married each other for alliances.
Sure. Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it worked for a while, but the next generation married somebody else who was
Right,
lined up
and
with somebody else.
and all the
There's a series on now on CW. It's called Reign. It's about Mary Queen of Scots and her time she spent in France trying to get married off and build the alliance.
Well, she was Queen of France for a while, wasn't she, as well as Queen of Scots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did. Sorry, why? I think it's like the third episode.
Oh, and that happened constantly. I mean, you go back to the 100 Years' Wars, and they were always marrying off the French princess to the English king, over and over and over.
You got married for protection or for
whatever.
purpose of not getting attacked. It's European history is a lot. It's not as clean as it looks.
You're right. One of the things I notice about English history, particularly, but it's true in all of them, is that we think of the king dies, the king's son becomes the king, and this provides continuity.
Oh.
Well, you look back in time, it rarely happened that way.
That's right.
If it happened that way for 100 years in a row, that was a miracle.
Absolutely.
They would find some, and they would.
And then you throw a girl in the middle of that mix, it made it even worse.
Well, it's true. And the way they got around, I can't remember who it was, but some king did not take the throne by using perhaps the fiction that his mother was not faithful to the previous king, and that he wasn't actually the son of the king, and then they would come up with all these affidavits from the side that saying that he wasn't really the king, so it's okay to take the great grandson of we look at Henry V as one of the great kings of England. His father usurped the throne from Richard II.
And that's why these. When the baby was born, you had all the attendees in there to prove that this is actually the baby.
Well, yeah, but you still can't prove who the father is.
No, you can't.
There was no DNA back then.
Mama baby, Papa maybe.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, did you see the PBS Shakespeare trilogy they did, Henry IV Part 1 and 2 and Henry V?
Yeah, I did the one.
I wish I'd remember that. I was hoping I'd see it on reruns. I caught all of Henry IV Part 2, which had me mesmerized, and I caught most of Henry V, which is always mesmerizing anyway.
The speech for St. Crispin's Day is absolutely fabulous.
The acting and the directing throughout were absolutely superior in every way. You think
well.
The two Henry IVs are generally, you see Henry V done on its own, but it's really a full-blown trilogy. If you don't see the Henry IV's Part 1 and 2, you don't really see the build-up to Henry V.
That's right.
And it was so good. The scene in Henry IV Part 2 where Falstaff is pretending to be the king, berating his son, who would become Henry V, his son Hal. And then them switching positions, and Henry playing his father, mocking Falstaff. It was wildly funny and so sharply poignant and bitter and sweet at the same time. It was absolutely magnificent.
The Brits do history very well.
Oh,
Very well.
now I may have to go out and buy the damn thing because I was hoping like on PBS World or something they'd be showing it.
They
No.
don't. They show the other stuff reruns 3 times, but the good stuff they show
Yeah.
once and you either get it or you miss it.
Oh man.
But no, they do history well.
Absolutely, it's never been done better, and I love both the Branner version and the Olivier versions of Henry V, but never been done better than this one.
Oh,
God,
very well.
amazing thing. Are we almost 12 again? or?
It's quarter off.
Quarter of, that's good enough. Okay, we'll be back on the radio on Tuesday on WCSS1490.com or just 1490 if you're in the area. And I think we're let's see, a week from today. What's going on? I'll be going to the Inman Center, but I think that's in the afternoon. So I think we're still going to be doing the podcast next week.
Well, Tuesday on the show,
Yeah.
when we do the show Tuesday, you can bring back your pictures from the parade and everything and show us.
I'll bring the pictures for the Tuesday for the radio show. Yeah. Which means I got to charge this battery somewhere too, man.
But how can you have a radio show when you can't actually show anything? Why shouldn't that be just a Tuesday broadcast and a Friday show?
That's
So
true.
You can show. You can't
Right.
show at a broadcast.
Tuesday entertainment.
Okay, all right.
What about you, Jim?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. All right. And so, therefore, having finally reached agreement after an hour and 45 minutes, we shall say goodbye and farewell. And this has been the show with no name.